Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And from the border of liberty and prosperity in the highway to the north, this is Safety Wars for Monday, June 26th. I can't believe that it's already June 26th, 2023. How's everybody doing? Everybody, where did that come from? Oh. Let's see, are we on the air here? Yes, we are on the air. You gotta trust the software. That's what Jay Allen always says. And guess what? I don't trust the software. Ever. So I always have Safety FM playing in the background. Actually, the software isn't the issue. It's me that's the issue. So, Anyway. Been working on some stuff, new products to roll out in the very near future, like within the next week or so. Got stuff all over the place. We're out here in the major swing of baseball with my son. Softball is over with my daughter. Unfortunately, the last game got rained out. Now everybody's on to summer camp. So, right here in my community, I don't know about anyone else's, but my community, everybody, school is over. Okay, over, summer camp. It's like, really? No, some kids got out on Friday. They were on the bus to Sleepaway Saturday morning, 9 a.m. It's like, wow. That's not the way it was where I grew up. I feel like I'm that crotchety old man. Now, back in the day. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? We haven't heard that one in a long time. So, give you a little bit of history here. Back in, let me get the camera here. Back in the day, and you may see this, I get asked about this book somewhat regularly. Are you going to do an update to it? Nuclear Terrorism, Family Response. When the political winds changed in this country, I took it off of Amazon, I'll be honest with the listeners out there. Right? Nuclear terrorism wasn't, or nuclear war wasn't seen as a issue mid-2000s, mid-2010s, I should say. And what was the history behind that book? History was real simple. 9/11 had happened. We were told to be prepared for a terrorist attack, which might include we had a couple of them. We had, obviously, in the first World Trade Center bombing. We had a terrorist attack on the Brooklyn Bridge. We had, then the big one was on the 9/11. We had the rise of Al-Qaeda. We had all this stuff going on. We had the anthrax cleanups that I was personally involved. We had a lot of stuff going on. So my first company was not doing so well, so I took a job in Logan, Ohio at the General Electric lighting facility, where they actually make the bulbs, the tubes for fluorescent light bulbs. I don't know if they still do that, but back then they did. And no, I had a lot of time. I was away from home, had a lot of time on my hands, no family, that sort of thing. And I said, I never have seen a good training materials for radiologicals. So what I ended up doing was that I used, I don't want to talk religion here, but Luther's Small Catechism as my guide in writing the book. So I open up with an introduction, and the introduction doesn't really apply anymore. But technical details for non-technical people. So I go through here, and the way that Luther's Small Catechism is set up is it's interrogative. There's probably a literary term for it, where you ask a question, and then you answer the question. And I go through, and how many pages was this? 50 pages, 49 pages in here, where I go through the whole thing in 50 pages, and in reality it was like 40, right, when you consider everything in there. And I was hoping that this was not going to be needed because we were worried about terrorists in those days, not so much nuclear war. But I can see that things are changing now in this country with everything, with the war in Ukraine, the situation that happened in Russia over the weekend with the almost coup, and everything else that was going on. So let's go over some of the stories here. Pulling up. Russia tries to restore control as Putin blasts mutineers. The leader, and this is from Wall Street Journal this morning. Actually, no, just now. It was just updated a couple hours ago. The leader of an aborted military mutiny, Yevgeny Prigozhin, defended the short-lived insurrection and claimed on Monday he wasn't trying to oust President Vladimir Putin in Russia, while Putin blasted the organizers of the revolt that presented the most serious challenge in his 23 years in power. Prigozhin defended his actions in an 11-minute audio clip posted by his press service, saying Wagner's aim wasn't to overthrow the government, but to protest the way the paramilitary group was being treated. Russia's state media reported that the Wagner leader, whose whereabouts is unknown, is still under criminal investigation. In a late Monday address to the nation, Putin sharply criticized the organizers of the mutiny for betraying their country. Though he thanked the Wagner soldiers who turned back, he reiterated that Wagner soldiers have an opportunity to sign contracts with the defense ministry or go to Belarus. Apparently, the president of Belarus had arranged, I don't want to say asylum, but exile in Belarus for the Prigozhin. So, one of the things, and this is all seems to be happening in real time here. I'm not a military guy, but based on what I've read about the situation and discussing it with military people in my community, the way that the Soviet Union and then Russia runs the military is that it is very much centralized, meaning you're having senior officers run the show on a lot of things, versus the American military, where sergeants run everything, pretty much, where decisions can be made at the local level. And what happened here was when the Wagner group started to advance towards Moscow, Moscow couldn't issue the orders fast enough. And that thus was the stalemate or whatever happened down there, and we'll let the historians figure that out and the analysts. But what's the end result here? The end result here is this. Putin lost 35 pilots, number one. Number two, the emperor has no clothes at this point. As has been reported, Russia is destabilized. And when you have a destabilized country with nuclear weapons, you might have a problem. All the analysts are out there stating, hey, no, nuclear weapons, he won't use them on his own soil, he won't do this, he won't do that. Well, guess what? I don't know how true that necessarily is, because as part of what causes insurrection or coup attempt, whatever we're calling this today, and this is Monday, June 26th, whatever we're calling this, it is in the Russian strategy that if they're going to be, it's been since the Cold War, if they're under threat, they're going to use the nuclear weapons. Those are not off the table. So I don't know what to think here with this. This is what I know. After researching this and getting a lot of positive feedback with this, right? And that was published, I believe, in 2012. And going back with this, right? Actually, 2009 was the first printing, and then 2012 was the second printing. Going back with this, we can't control what the government's going to do. We can't control what our own government's going to do. Right? We have a representative republic here. We elect leaders to run the show. And they're not going to, we don't have any direct control over them on the federal level. We elect the leaders. They're going to do whatever they want through through the whole voting thing, electoral college, and everything else. We have more control on the local level. That's a direct democracy for the most part. With that, to varying levels depending on where you live, but we can't control them. What can we control is us. We can control us. We can't control them. Now, I don't want to make this student us versus them. We can't control them. We have bureaucrats. We have this. They can't get their movement together or anything else. So the question is, how are you going to prepare? What is your game plan for your family to deal with this situation? We know what the situation is with COVID. We just went through this for 3 years. Some would argue we're still going through it, depending on your locale, your company policies, the medical treatment, whatever. Foreign countries. Some would argue we're still going through this, just that we don't have restrictions. Whatever. Right? May 11th, everything ended. What are you going to do? How are you going to prepare yourself? Are you going to go out and dig a bomb shelter out in your backyard? Are you going to purchase a house that can be used as a fallout shelter? Are you going to live in a house with a fallout shelter? Are you going to go around keep meaning to hang this up? You're going to go around and find out one of these and say, well, I remember where it was in high school, right? The fallout shelter. What are you going to do? There's a lot of stuff you could do. And I'm going to read the Chapter 3, Facing the Facts. It's a page and a half. It is likely the contents of this book will cause mixed feelings ranging from denial and delusionment to hopefully empowerment. I hope I have inspired empowerment not only in disaster management but in all aspects of your own life. The past few years have been rough on our nation. We have faced economic problems. Remember, this is 2012. Disillusionment with the political situation. This was 11 years ago. Politicians and political parties and the rise of radical groups and other challenges. Again, both sides. Insights that were once called conspiracy theories have now been found to be facts and mainstream because of researchers and government whistleblowers. See the news today? What the hell is going on with government whistleblowers? Unfortunately, our government has proven that they are unwilling or unable to protect the public without curtailing civil rights and running up massive debt. This was 2012. What happened during COVID here? Right, one side pointing this out. Many folks have been lulled into a sense of complacency, right? Even after September 11th, Katrina, Hurricane Katrina, the global financial crisis, the Gulf oil spill, the international response to Fukushima, and I'll add Superstorm Sandy response, because it was written before Superstorm Sandy. Many people still believe at their own risk that the government is prepared and will help them. Nothing could be further from the truth. Right? And going on, there was one politician who was quoted, I'm not going to mention who it was, "You never let a serious crisis go to waste." And what I mean by that is, it's an opportunity to do things you could not do before. This is 2012, folks. Faced with the threat of nuclear disaster or nuclear war, do you really want to risk your future on elected and appointed leaders who allow bad situations to fester? Are they to blame, or are we to blame for electing them and not keeping after them? Power lies with us, and that means we can fix it through the power of the ballot box. Take the opportunity to use it. Not all is bad. This is still America. And we still have the opportunity to change. And this has been a journey for all of us here. All right, I gotta turn this off because it's gonna be the whole thing. So that's my message here. That's my opening here with this, with Russia and everything else. And I have like 10 stories here to talk about this. And it's all, here we have another one from the express.co.uk. Wagner Group's coup is a game changer for Putin, as his days are now numbered. They're saying that maybe a worse fate. The article is not saying that, but people have said, well, maybe a worse person will be put in charge here. Condoleezza Rice, I just heard it on an interview, former Secretary of State, said, what was the wisdom behind putting together a private army within your own borders? This is what did he expect to happen? U.S. spy agencies picked up intelligence in mid-June indicating Wagner mercenary chief was planning armed action against Russian defense establishment, which he has long accused of bungling the war in the Ukraine. This one from Barron's. China contends with weakened Putin after Wagner mutiny. It's the headline. My daughter's in this tie-dye phase, right? Making tie-dye stuff. So, now the squinchy things for the hair, right? Or tie-dye, a couple of shirts. So, my wife says, well, she's artistic. We got to encourage her. So, I get a white t-shirt. And she's doing tonight with the white t-shirt. We covered this a couple of times here. No more shots. Pill versions of Ozempic-like drugs are coming. Tablets can appeal to people who want to lose weight but despise needles. I know one of the main issues why people do not like taking insulin if they are diabetic, even if they're type 1 and they absolutely need it. Here's a little statistic to you. People from diagnosis of type 1 diabetes to death without treatment used to die within 18 months. All right, and then once insulin was discovered and used, their life span nowadays pretty much the same as everybody else, but you got to be very, very diligent in doing that. And for type 2 diabetics, one of the big things is the stigma of needles. And one of the big, as I understand, one of the big barriers to people with taking their insulin shots, which, there's different ways to do them. There's bolus and basal, right? Basal being a couple of, once or twice a day. Bolus being all the time for every meal, multiple times. Stigma, number one. Number two, people don't like needles. And one of the holy grails for diabetes is management has been a pill form of insulin. But what it is the insulin pills, which they've had experiments over the years, cannot make it through the digestive tract. They break down in the acidic confines of the stomach. And that's been one of the big things. So with Ozempic or Wegovy, or the other one is Mounjaro, I think that's how you say it. They are weight loss pills or weight loss drugs. You take them once a week in needle form, you get better compliance, but also it basically knocks out the whatever it is in your brain, in your body, whatever that is to hunger, to regulate hunger, it pretty much gets rid of that. So what there is now, and this was in the Wall Street Journal today, no more shots. Pill versions of Ozempic-like drugs are coming. So this is from Novo Nordisk, which is, I believe, a New Jersey-based company. At least their headquarters is in the Metro Princeton area, and is pill form. I think that again, the Ozempic and the Wegovy and the others was semaglutide and Mounjaro, and there's another one that name escapes me now. They're all basically the same, do the same type of thing. It's a game changer. You only have to take the shot once a week, right? And it gets rid of what most diabetics have a problem with, which is hunger pain. So it's a game changer. I know people on this. It's phenomenal. Now, the tablets, if those are approved by the FDA, what ends up having to happen is now you get rid of the delivery system, which is the most expensive part of the drugs a lot of times. So you get rid of that. That gets rid of the bloodborne pathogen issue with needle sticks. Refrigeration, that gets rid of. Now it's portable, right? More portable. And I think it's a thing, right? Especially for people who fear needles. FDA creates path for psychedelic drug trials. Federal regulators are laying out guidance for psychedelic drug trials for the first time in a move that could encourage a mainstreaming of substances like magic mushrooms and LSD behavioral health treatments. Why it matters? Psychedelics are turning into a multi-billion-dollar industry and gaining widespread acceptance after decades of concerns about recreational use of the products, the high risk for misuse. But research to date has largely been backed by private sponsors. The FDA on Friday released first ever draft guidance outlining considerations including trial conduct, data collection, and subject safety for researchers looking into psychedelic treatments for a variety of conditions, including PTSD, depression, and anxiety. So Dan Crenshaw, Republican from Texas, introduced legislation directing the issuance of clinical trial guidelines. It came as 10,000 attendees and hundreds of exhibitors converged on Denver for what was billed as the largest psychedelic conference in history, with guests ranging from New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers and NIH mental health director Joshua Gordon. So what's going on here? These drugs have shown promise for treating a range of addictions and mental health disorders. So they're looking into it. I don't know. With that, I've heard, a lot of stuff. Some environmental news. And its promised land drying. Mormon Church works to save the Great Salt Lake. The valley here was shades of brown and its vast saline shimmering. When Brigham Young first surveyed the landscape in 1847, recognized the place he had seen in a vision, a spot to make the desert bloom. Right today, the valley is the headquarters of a faith with 17 million adherents worldwide and a tableau of fertile verdant lawns, fertile farmland, and blooming growth. Yet the transformation is threatened because the overuse of water and climate change. Everything is a climate change, right? The Great Salt Lake is drying up, and the Mormon Church is taking on an unusual public role to help save it. So they're doing water conservation out there, and permanently donating a small reservoir's worth of church-owned water, the largest gift ever made for the lake. Again, Salt Lake, I've only seen it from the air. So, flyover country. So, again, this is a legitimate environmental issue here. We have water issues going on over here. Again, where do people live, and how do they use their resources? Not a good thing. Okay, let's head on over to OSHA related stuff. Okay, I just erased all the OSHA stuff, so no problem. There's only one or two things out today. So these are the press releases for OSHA. U.S. Department of Labor, Georgia road contractors to promote workplace safety during I-285 and I-20 East Interchange project. OSHA has signed a strategic partnership with two Georgia firms engaged in a joint venture. Archer Western, an Atlanta construction company, and E.R. Snileville Construction Company to promote worker safety during the reconstruction of the highways. All right. Well, that's good. That's all we heard from OSHA today. EPA, what do we got? Here we go. Department of Labor. Department of Labor was very active today. So here we have U.S. Department of Labor recovers more than $48,000 in back wages, damages for 19 employees denied overtime by Palm Coast construction contractor. Investigators for the department's wage and hour division found that a Florida commercial carpentry millwork contractor paid 19 employees straight time rates for all hours worked, including overtime hours. By doing so, the employer failed to pay the required time and a half overtime premium for hours over 40 hours a work week, right? And they ended up basically $24,000 in damages, and wages. I'm sorry, $24,000 in back overtime wages, $24,000 in liquidated damages. That's not something you want to do if you're a business owner. Judge upholds Department of Labor findings. Orders Schaumburg Pool Company to pay $312,000 in back wages to 26 non-immigrant workers. This is in Schaumburg, Illinois. An administrative law judge has ordered Schaumburg Residential Commercial Swimming Pool Company to pay $312,561 in back wages to 26 workers employed under a federal guest worker visa program after the U.S. Department of Labor found the employer failed to comply with the H-2B guest worker visa program. This happened last week, and I'm not going to mention the name of the company. That's basically it. Back wages and $200 some dollars in back wages, $123,000 in penalties. You can do the math. Federal court in Nashville has affirmed the findings of an investigation that determined that Tennessee's Security and Traffic Control Service provider and its owner misclassified 105 workers as independent contractors, including some who worked as security guards in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. Wow, $632,000 in back wages and liquidated damages. A federal court in Nashville went through all this. Anyway, what happened was it seems like they were arguing it, and someone got PO'd and put on more fines. Okay. Something from South Korea, right? I did a little bit of a deep dive here on demographic trends here. Right? And basically, And I just erased the story. Hold on. Yeah, let's get a little bit of a deep dive here. Because now, we were talking about this for a long time, right? About demographic trends in the United States and throughout the world and their impact on things like the economy, resources, and everything else. And now, regardless of what your opinion is on birth control, abortion, all that, we're not turning this into an abortion program. A lot of programs out there, both sides, dedicated to the issue. You could go, if you're interested, you could go there with that. But the issue is here with demographic issues. So this is a major threat to world stability, to finances, the economy, our society, and everything else as I see it. All right, so 1960s, everybody was worried about overpopulation and those impacts, which led to 1992. The Rio was included in the Rio de Janeiro Earth Conference. In there, I believe it was May and June of 1992. And now we have had subsequent conferences, and now we have Agenda 2030 and everything else. More to talk about on that later on, not tonight. And we have downward spiral on the demographics. And one of the reasons that's given by some demographers, for the whole situation we have with Russia is in 10 years they're not going to be able to fight a war. There's going to be a reliance on groups like Wagner Group and private mercenaries to fight wars because we don't have the demographics to support a sustained war. We don't have enough people. We don't have anything. So Soviet Union before Russia, after the 1917 revolution, had a population growth, and that is after World War II, it grew, where they were going to have lower population growth, right? For whatever reason on that. We started this in the mid to late 1960s elsewhere. So here we have in a country, this is from CNN, this is not a conspiracy theory thing here. Right, in country with world's lowest fertility rate, doubts creep in about wisdom of no-kid zones. For a country, this is from Seoul, and this is from CNN from Saturday. For a country by Chris Lau, Gawam Bay, Jake Kwan, and Nayoon Kim. For a country with the world's lowest fertility rate, one that has spent hundreds of billions of dollars trying to encourage women to have more babies, the idea of barring children from places like cafes and restaurants might seem a little bit counterproductive. But in South Korea, no-kid zones have become remarkably popular in recent years. Hundreds have sprung up across the country, aimed largely at ensuring disturbance-free environments for the grown-ups. So here we have a problem here. South Korea's problem is more acute than most. Last year, its fertility rate dropped to a record low of 0.78, not even half of the 2.1 needed for stable population, and far below that of Japan, which is at 1.3. And currently the world's grayest nation, meaning they have a lot of old people, not a lot of young people. And even further below, the U.S., which at 1.6 faces the aging problems of its own. Again, not a conspiracy theory. This is not from a religious group. This is from CNN. All right? The young South Koreans already face the pressure on multiple fronts, from sky-high real estate laws and long working weeks to rising economic anxiety. Critics of the zone say the last thing the country needs is to get one more thing to make them think twice about starting a family. The government, they point out, should know this better than anyone. After all, it spent more than $200 billion over the past 16 years to try to encourage more people to have children. Critics suggest that rather than throwing more money at the problem, it needs to work on society's attitudes towards the young. Okay, again, lack of workers, right? No kids, right? No professors, right? No people from the manufacturing plants. You're not going to be with the manufacturing plants as much. You're going to have the reliance on foreign workers. Destabilizing. This is from scmp.com. What's this website about? This came out. What is it? It is. Looks like it is a Chinese-focused paper. I'm sorry, podcast / news thing. But I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not sure exactly. It looks like it's Asia-based here. All right. This is from Explainer, China Population Timeline, 1949 to 2022. How has the demographic crisis emerged? Last year, China's population fell by 850,000 to 1.411 billion, as mothers had 9.56 million babies last year, compared with 10.41 million total deaths. This represented the first decline in China's population since 1961, after China ended its one-child policy in 2016. How did they arrive at this? Right, 1949, Communist Party comes to power, promotes growth, and offers financial incentives, and that's when the population was just over 500 million. All right, 1961, they had the Great Famine. You could read all about that, how that happened. All right, and then later, longer, fewer family planning policy introduced, allowing a maximum of 2 children per couple in 1970. 1980, one-child policy introduced, right? And China conducts in 1990. 1991, replacement rate drops finally. 2016, one-child policy ends in favor of a two-child policy. And that's how it happened here. China population wedding woes see annual unions nearly halved in the past decade. Fewer marriages, fewer people available for marriage, I guess. Now deaths outnumber birth. What are some of the things? Again, not as many children, no need for schools as much. Universities, this one, wedding venues, need more people for the factory, or need more automation. Things going to collapse the economy. What do you think we're doing now with the drones and for the military? All this automation. But the thing is, fewer people, fewer needs. That's what one side of the argument says. I'm not saying, this stuff is not being thought out. This one is from Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. West Virginia's demographic downer. Demographic issues continue to present significant headwinds for West Virginia. Employers are desperate for workers. Colleges need more students, and merchants always want more customers. There have been some hints in recent years of more people moving to West Virginia. VW, for example. Send WV. I read it backwards. Program is paying professionals to relocate here. However, the new Census Bureau numbers show declining and aging population. So in 2 years, the population declined by 19,000. The median age in West Virginia is 43 years. West Virginia continues to get older. So what are the impacts here? Challenges for everything, the whole system we're going to have to face, and it's part of the safety war. Let's go to our second commercial break. So, I'm looking at a graph from the NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. As of 7 p.m. Eastern Time today, Monday, June 26th, they have a whole map of these here smoke from the fires in Canada. So all through the Midwest, your air quality is being impacted from these fires still. So back east, we're just getting the normal smog and everything. Probably some minor impacts from all this smoke. When you look at parts around the Great Lakes of Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, some parts of Minnesota. This is, and up in Canada, all over the place. Saskatchewan, Quebec, the province of Quebec, not Quebec, the city, being impacted here. So, I don't know. This is going to be an ongoing thing here for us, pretty much the whole summer until they get some rain up there or something else. So, the folks over across the pond in Europe, I'm sure you've already gotten some of this stuff coming from Canada, but I see orange areas over across the Atlantic heading towards Northern Europe. So, again, open water. What else we got here? America is getting older. That's from the Census Department. Here's, I did not get into these stories. I'm just going to revisit this. The other Korean demographic crisis, unmasking North Korea's population data. So, this article is from NorthKoreaNews.org, and it basically says, we have no idea what the population is for North Korea. I don't know. Because they keep on lying about the numbers. And if they're lying about the numbers, that's a bad thing. There's been a 90s famine, including that impacts, finding that impacts assessments, military and economic strength. So they have no idea what's going on in North Korea. Here we have another one with Greece. Since 2011, Greece's population has gradually been shrinking and getting older. Theodoros Georgiakopoulos, a journalist, columnist, and editorial director at Dionysus, I said that right, joins Thanos Davelis to break down Greece's demographic challenge and what can be done to adjust reality and reverse this trend. That's a podcast there. Again, another demographic problem. Israel has the opposite issue. High birth rates. So, enough about that. Pew, right, which is a liberal, admittedly, self-reportedly liberal organization, they bring up this issue, population decline. All right, so, be prepared for oceanical mismanagement claims. This is from SHRM.org, membership group. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration has recently issued medical, and this is a story, Alan Smith, who's an attorney. Right, let's read here so I don't violate fair use claims. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration has recently issued medical mismanagement claims to try to prove violations in the General Duty Clause of the Occupational Safety and Health Act. Employers, particularly ones with on-site medical professionals, need to pay attention to these claims and take steps to defend themselves against them. The OSHA Act's General Duty Clause is intended to give OSHA a means to address hazards for which no specific standard currently exists. So, what is medical mismanagement? I tell you what, this is a company that is named after a river, has had some of these issues come up. So here we go. So what happens is there's an injury. This is not in this story, but this is in the whole thing. There's a injury. There's an incident. Musculoskeletal disorder. Something like that. And they go to the company nurse or company doctor, which has it could be in-house or it could be outside. You're going to a clinic or something like that, and it's a first aid case. I guess listed as a first aid case, but when you read the OSHA definition of first aid and recordable, we all know that recordable is it goes on the 300 log, and it has to be something other than first aid, meaning you have to get a prescription, there is a fracture, and there is an unconscious, someone loses consciousness, there might be an overexposure, and then you lose unconsciousness, fatality, anything like that. You're going to get around a fatality, misreporting that, which has to be within 8 hours of OSHA, and in-person hospitalization within 24 hours, and going on amputation, eye loss, things of that nature. That's kind of hard to fudge, that sort of thing. But other than first aid, that's where people are getting whacked with this. According to one attorney, right, employees are given an opportunity to become conditioned to the work. What is that? That means like a heat stress issue. Employees are minimal information given to occupational health professionals making these determinations and giving medical care. Medical records not being complete. Oh yeah, we lost that. Oh, I didn't know about that. No, emails deleted, files missing, got put into the circular file cabinet, that sort of thing. No follow-up by health providers. In-house people prefer not sending stuff out that should be sent out. Inappropriate accommodation to workers who had directed to have time off. Treatment was inappropriately conservative, and medical protocols lacked precision. So, happens all the time, and that's a general duty clause violation. We're going to call it a night here, and I hope to see you tomorrow night. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel. Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.